Back again for another great episode of the Grown and Greek podcast, and I'm excited for this show's guest. But let me run through some quick notes for you. Of course, make sure you are subscribing, commenting, liking, and sharing the podcast at Grown and Greek Podcast. Follow us on all social media platforms at Grown and Greek Podcast. And if you know anyone of the Divine Nine who you think would be a great guest on the podcast, please shoot me a DM on IG at Grown and Greek Podcast. So let me introduce you to the show's special guest. He's a father, grandfather, uncle, friend, and mentor. He is a devout HIV advocate and activist. His first book, which I'm super excited to talk about, Walking in Truth, Fatherhood, was featured in a mini documentary on CNN called Blind Angels, where he speaks about the importance of mentoring in HIV care. And he is a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Blue Phi, you know. Please welcome to the Grown and Greek podcast, Mr. Tony Walker Billups. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, what's up, friend?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm really, really good. How are you?
I'm good. So I want to, of course, dive right in, and we'll talk about a bunch of stuff. But one thing that I want to introduce the audience to is the fact that you began working in the field of advocating and being an activist for HIV in 2013, but you have lived with HIV for 31 years. 32 years now.
Yeah, 32 years.
Wow. So if you don't mind, kind of, take us back to that moment and what that whole monumental moment, I guess, was. And I say monumental before.
Oh, it was monumental.
Yeah. So can you take us back to that time, and then talk about it and where you are, and we'll go from there in the convo.
Yeah, so I kind of will probably need to take it back to when I pledged, right?
Okay.
So I pledged Phi Beta Sigma Kappa Zeta chapter at Auburn University in 1987. Like,
what?
Yeah, 1987.
Okay.
But I've always known I was gay, and like, there's a running joke with our fraternity because one of our founders, after they started the fraternity, he just kind of left. Like, nobody saw him again until like 1990 something.
Okay.
And for them, I was that brother. There were 9 of us who pledged, and I realized I knew then, like, because I knew then I was gay. But then, like, I thought we just pledge, go to meetings, do like service things, to go about our business. No, they wanted to hang out, and I'm like, I haven't been hanging out with you. I go to the gay club in Columbus. I can't be
It's a brotherhood, Tony. It's a brotherhood.
I let me tell you, a lot of people pledge because they need to feel included. Like, I was already at the party, so like, I pledged because I just wanted to do some good work. So like, they wanted to hang out. I'm like, I had a life before I came here. I don't know what y'all doing, but I just kind of shied away because I didn't think that they would accept me, right? So I ended up dropping out of school because at that time I had my girlfriend had her second child and told me it was mine. That's what the book's about, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But just out here in the streets, and kind of like now, like, there was not a lot of talk about HIV. Even now, 40 years later, people still don't talk about it. And then you think about the myths and the misconceptions that we have about it. At that time, it was a white gay man's disease. I'm not a white gay man, so let me go ahead and do what I do. I was young, cute, do what you do. So long story short, one day I got a call from the health department, and I tell this story in the documentary. But I got a call from the health department. They're like, hey, looks like you were exposed to AIDS, so you need to come down and get tested. And I'm like, I ain't never been to the health department before. What I want to go down there for? So I went down there, and they treated you like crap, especially they thought you had HIV. It was just crazy. And at that point, we didn't even call it HIV. It was still called AIDS. HIV didn't become commonplace till later on. But anyway, so I go down there. They treat me like crap. They give me this test. And now we got tests that you can get your results in a minute. Back then, you had to wait 2 weeks. So I'm sitting here, yes. Yeah. More nervous than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs for 2 weeks.
I was going to say, you almost stroked out in 2 weeks.
But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was like when they called me back to give me the results. I like, I'm not coming back down there because they treated me like crap. Like I was like, you want people to come back? Can't you just give me the results over the phone? No, can't do that. So I was like, okay, meet me. Can you meet me someplace? So this man met me at Brookwood Village. For those of you who have been in Birmingham for a minute, Brookwood Village used to be like a nice little mall back in the day. It was like the little ritzy mall. And they had this interesting parking deck situation. So we met in the parking deck. He got out of the car. He said, hey, just want to let you know that you did test positive. And he said AIDS because they didn't have any other words for it at that time. And he said, I need you to sign here showing me that you know that you have it. And he says, I'm gonna give you this card. He said, you can go here and see about getting treatment if you want to. He said, but if I were you, I'd get my affairs in order.
Wow.
I was 26 years old. He told a 26-year-old kid to prepare to die.
Tony.
Yeah, it knocked the wind out of me in a lot of different ways. I didn't worry about finishing school. Like, well, I need to finish school. Like, what's the point? And I tell people I literally stopped dreaming because at that point, this man was telling me I was going to die. It's going to be what it was. But something interesting happened. I've always been rather smart. My mom always called me a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I noticed that my friends who were contracting the disease, they found out like this month they had it, and then 4 months later they were dead. And I'm like, certainly just knowing that you have this disease can't be killing you. It's got to be something else. And I realized the fact that they were taking AZT, which was the medicine they used to treat at that time. AZT was a very, very, very powerful drug. And the problem was they were giving people too much of it. So it was causing organ failures, organ system shuts down and stuff like that. And even in that moment, even when he told me, I'm like, I could take my chance with this disease, or I could take my chance with this medicine. I decided to take my chance with the disease. Research that HIV had been around for like 13 years then, because I was diagnosed in 93. 1997, they came up with what they call antiretroviral medications. Some of y'all may remember hearing that during COVID, because the treatment for COVID was the antiretroviral medication as well. But in 1996, they came up with the antiretrovirals, which really started saving lives. If you look at like the mortality charts of HIV, people living with HIV before 1996, the chart went up just like that. Like it was gonna go worse. And then when they came with those retro medicines, it went straight down. Not that many people die from HIV these days, which is good. But I started working in HIV in 2017. And I used to, so I tell people all the time, like, I'm on my fourth life. So like my first life, I worked in retail. Then my second life, I worked in radio and ended up managing 98.7 Kiss FM. Then my grandmother died in like 2007 and left me a house that was paid for. And I try to tell these young Black folks, I know a lot of young Black people who are like, well, I don't want to get no house. It's too much maintenance. Think about your kids. Because, having generational wealth is very, very important. Me having a job that I did not like at that time, because, they treated us like we was on the plantation. Like, I got my 5 bells, boss. Once my grandmother left me in that house, I'm like, fuck them bells. I'm going to find something else to do. Right. And so from like 2008 to 2013, it allowed me to like explore and find something that I like doing. Because at that point, when I left Kiss the first time in 2008, I was probably making a little over $100,000 a year, but I was miserable.
Ooh, that was a lot of money back then. But yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah. Let me just say this: I left in August, and my W-2 for that my W-2 for that year, it was like $92,000. I had 5 more months to go, but I was miserable. And having that house that was paid for allowed me to like stretch my wings a little bit and see what it was I wanted to do. My love language is acts of service. I love helping people, right? So like I love Kiss. I worked for this liquor distributor for a minute. I worked for AT&T. I worked for Wells Fargo. I would have stayed at Wells Fargo had this other job I got never working at A's Alabama. It never came around. But like working there, I was able to help people, and that kind of helped me become the activist that I am today. Because like, had this been when we were working together, I would have never told you my HIV status. As a matter of fact, Chantel Mosley cussed me out when she found out, and for a good reason. It was the fact that so I started working for AIDS Alabama in 2013, and me doing testing for people, I saw how nervous they were when they would get tested. Like, if I find out I got this shit, I'm gonna die. Blah blah blah. I'm like, you're not gonna die. You don't know. Actually, I do. Yeah, I do,
Did
sis.
you feel like you needed to hide it? Like,
Oh, absolutely.
and when did you, kind of, I know you're getting to that, but when did you, prior to working for AIDS Alabama, when did you just, like discover that you didn't need to?
So, let me say this: I didn't discover I didn't need to until I started working for AIDS Alabama.
Okay.
Prior to that, I would tell people on a need to know basis, like, just let you know we need to do this, that, and the third. I also told my oldest niece, she has a son now who is 15, but she got pregnant at the prom. And I was like, baby girl, look now, this could be a lot worse than having a baby, and not that HIV is worse than having a baby, because honestly, we'll talk about that. But because it's a very manageable disease at this point. But I told her, and then I would start telling people who I would test because they were just so weirded out about it. No, most of them were negative. Like, even before I disclosed publicly, most of the people who I tested were always negative, but they were always nervous about it. And, I'm like, let me go ahead and avoid this, now. But I eventually started to tell people who I was testing. And then I don't know if you know Daphne Ward, Ahmad's wife. He used to be at the Civil Rights Institute. She hired me in, and she was like, hey, we're going over to Humphrey High School to tell people about HIV. We're looking for somebody to tell their story. I'm like, I'll do it. Because at that time, I started in August. This is like December 1st, which is World AIDS Day. I'm like, I'll do it. So got over to the school and realized something once I got there. I had a nephew who went to that school, and my family didn't know other than Kristen.
Wow. Tony.
So this is when I really realized I didn't have to care. So I called my mom, and I'm like, hey, Mom, how you doing? She's like, oh, I'm doing fine. I'm like, well, look, I'm at T school, and we're going to do some HIV education. And I think I need to tell you something. And she was like, what? So, well, I've been living with HIV for a number of years. At that time, it was 20 years. And I just wanted you to know. She says, oh, well, are you taking meds? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, are they working? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, okay. And I was like, wait, I've been hiding this for this long, and this was going to be the response. And I think because technology had gotten so far advanced with the medications that she realized that there was nothing really worried about for real, for real. But like it was kind of anticlimactic. Like I was kind of disappointed. That was the response.
But I mean, that's the truth. It is normal. Normal conversation, normal climate or whatever that we live in, and it should not be a stigma, attached to it. But I mean, I know that there still is, I guess, to a degree, but there shouldn't be, a stigma attached to it. But do you, in hindsight, do you remember, what could have happened, where it came from? Do you
Oh, I think I
remember?
remember the day. Yeah, I'm very clear.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where a lot of people, we live in a world now where people don't want to take responsibility for their actions.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I knew exactly who it was. Again, I was out there being reckless, like literally reckless. And and people will make up stuff on people, and they will tout rumors. But like the person that I'm pretty sure was people that already said that they were, and I'm like, oh, they just saying that because he's skinny. And no, that wasn't that wasn't it. But honestly, and this might shock some of your listeners, but like I have no regrets. Like I have no regrets. I think about a lot of times people say, well, if I could go back in time and change this, I have nothing in my life that I would change. Where I'm right now is a summation of everything that I've been through, and my life is good right now. You know, so like, why would I want to take a chance on it not being where it is right now? And I think if more people were able to, like, you know, find peace with themselves with whatever they're going through, you know, people could live better and more productive lives.
That's a lesson in itself. That, I mean, you know, that is the lesson. That is the lesson, because at the end of, you know, at the end of it all, whenever it is, you
Yeah.
want to look back and realize your purpose was fulfilled. You
Oh
know,
my
and
God. And yeah, and that's
this,
another thing. So like, I'm one of the few people, because a lot of people are working, a lot of people don't know what their purpose is. I can tell you that I am working within my purpose. And it's personal, it's worldwide, it's local, it's regional. You know, the number of young people who have depended on me over the last 12 years is amazing. You know, the things that I have had the privilege to do. You know, when I was working in the field, I was like, you mean I get to go to work and do this? You
wow.
know, and because it's hard work. It's not hard work, it's hard work. And I think that's what a lot of people miss in the work that they do. And so, like, no, there's nothing I would change.
Now, is that the reason why you wrote the book?
No, I wrote the book for therapy, honestly.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, the book only mentions HIV one time, and I do it in passing. So let me tell you about the book.
Okay.
So the book is called Walking in Truth Fatherhood, and you can find it on Amazon, like $21. There's also a Kindle version of it. But I had a child with my girlfriend when I was 19 years old. And I was like, crap, this is not good, because I don't want to be with her. So, and this is kind of this is a little bit of part of the book, but like after, I'm just being honest, you know, but like,
Yeah.
after my son was born, I did everything in my power not to come home. I would go see him. I would sneak in to see him. Like if I go back home, she gonna want to have sex again. I ain't trying to do that. And so like, because you know, a lot of people think that men who are gay who have girlfriends do it out of some type of spite or something. No, I was just trying to get along, because if I didn't have a girlfriend, they were gonna call me punk, sissy, and peg. So you know, like, okay, the sex with her was her idea. You know, ladies, if you got a friend who getting engaged and her fiance like, well, we cannot have sex until we get married, he probably gay, and you need to tell her to leave him. I don't care what kind of Bible he say he read. He got to at least act like he want to at least touch it. Like, no. So like, but anyway, so I avoided going home, and this is one of the funniest parts of the book. I gone home, and I was talking to my mom because she had made my favorite meal, and we sitting there talking, and she goes, "Well, how's everything going?" I'm like, "It's going great." She says, "Oh, Quentin is looking just like you. He's gonna be a handsome young man." I said, "Yeah, he probably is." She said, "How's everything with you and your girlfriend?" I'm like, "They're okay. It's fine." She said, "Well, she said y'all ain't had sex since Clint was born. Why not?" That's the relationship I got with my mom. And so I was like, who tells their boyfriend's mother this? But my mom has always been the mom that all the kids could talk to. So again, me, a bad liar. I'm like, well, you know, Mom, Kim was conceived in the front seat of a car. She's a mother now. I got more respect for her. Baby, before I could get that lie out my mouth, my mom plopped $50 down on the table and was like, go get a room. And then I was feeling like Miss Celia on the color purple, like I gotta go shave Mister. so so long story short, that summer she came down to spend a week with me with the baby at Auburn. And I asked her, I'm like, are you pregnant again? She was like, no, I'm not pregnant. I'm like, you look pregnant, because she had gained some weight. Fast forward to November, my mom calls me at work. I used to work at Sears at Village Mall. She says, hey, I got some news for you. Like, what's going on? Guess who's pregnant? And the first thing out of my mouth was my youngest sister, because she was like hotter than cayenne pepper. And she was like, no. And I'm like, I know I ain't pregnant. Like, no. And then she called my girlfriend's name. And I'm like, who? I'm like, I just asked her as soon as she was pregnant. She said no. And Chocolate, I should have realized something was up then. Long story short, the baby was born 3 months later in February. We never quite bonded. I tell people all the time, our mammalian physiology is very similar to the animals in the wild. And a male animal knows when a child ain't there, that typically they eat them. And that child knows they father and they're afraid of being eaten. Like we did not, we ended up being good, but like that first initial, it was no bueno. So anyway, let's just fast forward. Um, he graduates from high school, goes to college. He ends up developing Crohn's disease and colitis, which caused his body to produce blood clots. Ends up having a massive stroke and spends 2 months in the hospital at UAB and passes away at 23. And for me, it was traumatic because during the time he was at the hospital, one of our classmates kept coming up to the hospital, this guy. I'm like, why he up here as much as I am? Long story short, found out that was actually his dad. We actually talked after he passed away. And what was interesting was everybody that thought I knew, and people like that, people do rumors and little whisper campaigns, but no one ever said, hey, you're not the father of this child. And I found out 3 weeks before he died because my mom was actually in the room with his mother and her sisters and her daughter, and they were getting a little loosey-goosey with the mouth because the actual father was in there. And my son had a son, and they were like, hey, give your papa his phone. And my mama looked like, Tony ain't in here. Who y'all talking about? It was talking about the actual father. So everybody knew with me. Like, it was a running joke. And I'm going to be honest, when something like that happens to you, go get therapy. Just go get some therapy. And I ended up getting the therapy, and I started writing the book as therapy, but that wasn't enough. I actually go work through some stuff. And then when the pandemic hit, I wrote. It took me like maybe 2 months to write it, like 240 pages, but it was easy to write because it's my story, and I had to make a big thing up. But so yeah, that's what the book is about.
You said you just glance over in passing, about.
Yeah, I just mentioned it at one time, and that's it. My second book that I'm starting to write is going to be called Walking in Truth, HIV, and it's going to be more in depth about my HIV journey. Because I plan to do a trilogy of books, and the third one you'll like is going to be called Walking in Truth Life. And I don't know if you were privy to all the crazy stuff that happened at the radio station.
Some.
Yeah, so this is going to be like anecdotal stories of places that I work, because I worked at some really crazy places, like really crazy places. So it's going to be like a series of short stories that are usually kind of funny.
When is the second book?
I'm on chapter 2.
Expecting. Okay.
I'm hopefully about to so I'm in school completing my, because I stopped dreaming at 26.
Yeah.
So I graduated from UAB in the summer in School of Public Health with my bachelor's. So I'll take some time off after that, write the book, and then go back and start working on my master's.
Well, we will be looking forward to it. I can't wait. And if and especially the third one, because I have a connection, and I know I could probably read and say.
Let me tell you this though. When
I
you
know
read
who that
the first
is. I know who that is.
when you read the first one, you'll recognize some people, because I'm very vivid about working at the radio station. I say it's a TV station, but like you'll know some of the people in there. Definitely.
Okay. I will get it tonight for sure. So let's talk a little bit about like the climate and everything today, and with the work and stuff that you're doing with AIDS Alabama. I know that it extends globally.
Well, I don't work there anymore. I work for a pharmaceutical company now.
Okay. Well, we can
but it's still HIV related though.
Okay. Well, obviously there's still, and I looked up some numbers and everything, and, current numbers that I saw were as of 2022. So it may not be, current, but you may be privy to that.
That's as current as you're going to get. It's usually like a year and a half behind.
Okay. But still to this day, there are disproportionate numbers that Black gay men are at the top of the food chain, as as it relates to new infections. But what was surprising to me was that kids are among the newest spike in new cases of HIV.
Let me tell you what's more
I'm
shocking than that.
speechless. I'm
Let me tell you what's more
speechless.
shocking than that. Black women are the second. When you look at new infections,
Mm-hmm.
Black women are the second. And the kids number is like nationwide. In Alabama in particular, we have very low child numbers,
Yeah.
unless they were like perinatally infected, meaning that their parents had it. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of kids are born with HIV because the parents didn't go take care of that stuff while they were. But our numbers in Alabama, as far as young people, like from 13 to 17, in Alabama, has traditionally been kind of low. Our spikes are coming with Black women like yourself and older people.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But the thing with the kids, I'll address that first. The thing with the kids bothers me because we don't do a good job of teaching our kids how to protect themselves. You have people on the right who will say, well, if you tell them about condoms, they're going to go out and have sex. Guess what? They're going to have sex anyway. Let them have sex without getting a baby. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even when you think about things like PrEP or pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is either a once every other month injection or a once a day pill. If you give them a pill, they're gonna keep having they're gonna have a lot of sex. Yeah, let them have sex without contracting HIV. And the same argument was true of the birth control pill in the 70s. If you give those women those pills, they're gonna have let them have wild sex without having a baby they can't afford. Like, mind your business. Like, that's where I'm like, mind your business. But like we don't do a good job of explaining to our kids, their bodily functions, what you do, what you don't do, and if you're going to do this, how you do it, which is devastating. And I do know I know quite a few kids who were diagnosed in high school, like they're
What,
senior.
Tony?
Yeah, yeah, quite a few.
Oh my gosh.
But this is because we treat sex like it's something nasty, ugly, and disgusting that
Mm-hmm.
you should wait until you find somebody you love to do it with. And that's not what people are doing. Like, sex is beautiful, and people need to understand that. And they need to understand how to talk about it. They need to understand condom negotiation. They need to understand, I mean, even abstinence. But it's obviously people are not being abstinent, no matter how much we talk about it. So let's go ahead and say that's not working. So if that's not working, my friend Derek has a phrase he says all the time. He says, "If you can't be good at it."
Right.
So
Right.
but then again, like I said, Black women are the second highest. And a lot of people think it's because men are on the DL. Most of the Black women that I know contract HIV from their straight boyfriends, who happen to be either IV users, drug users themselves, or sleeping with women who are HIV. Injection drug users.
What?
Yeah,
So
there are a
how do
couple
you?
who got it from their gay boyfriends, but we love creating a boogeyman
Mm-hmm.
for some reason.
Right.
But in the boogeyman was the DL man. I mean, there are some DL men, but like their numbers are not that high.
So how do you have those conversations? I mean, because obviously, you know, people are scared to have it, don't want to have it, uh, don't want to disclose anything about themselves. But when you're sharing that time with somebody, you are vulnerable and all out there anyway. So why not? How do you what do you suggest? How should you have that conversation?
I think it's gonna go back to us like normalizing this with our kids. Like, we're gonna have to go back to their 5 or 6 years old, and it's a progression, right? So
Hmm.
like you're gonna have to like talk to your 5 and 6 year olds about appropriate and inappropriate touching. you know. Then when they go into puberty, like, well, mama, why my little thing coming up? Well, we need to talk to you or your dad and let's explain this. Well, mama, why am I bleeding? We need to explain that. And I think those conversations should be wrapped up in those smaller conversations that lead to, okay, if you're fixing to be intimate with someone, you need to make sure you do this, this, and this, and this is why. But people don't want to do that. You got some parents who will tell their kids, you can tell me anything. Then the minute you tell them that you want to have sex, then they beating you. And like, that's not healthy. Another thing though, I think a lot of times as adults, we forget the stuff that we did when we was kids.
Yeah.
You know what you were doing behind the tree, playing hide and go get. Like, why you think these kids ain't doing it? Oh, because they on their phones all the time. But they doing other stuff.
And
You
they know
know,
more than we did.
they know a lot more than we did.
Hmm.
But they don't know. It's like they have the tools, they don't know how to use them.
Hmm.
That's what I see. Like, they have the tools, they just don't know how to use them. But this is also true of adults. So, like, you know, I remember thinking at the age of 26 that, no one's ever gonna love me, right? Like, nobody's gonna want to be with me. And I actually got married the first time in 2009. And my partner, my husband at that time, was also HIV negative, right? We were together for like 12 years, and things just didn't work out. Most of it was me. Um, when I met them, I was going through a lot mentally. I was kind of broken, and they were like that anchor for me. And then my best friend died back in 2015. When I was also diagnosed with colorectal cancer, which is a whole nother thing. But when I was in the hospital doing my surgery, my best friend died, and Sonya and I were really, really close. And it was hard for me to move past that grief, so I started going to therapy. And when you go to therapy, you gotta be careful. Because when they start working and fixing on stuff, there's a lot of stuff that they fix. And it was like I woke up one day and I was like, why am I with him? Great guy, but it was just it was just not right. And I think he's probably still mad at me now, but like I have no ill will. And again, you got to be careful when you go through therapy, especially when you're really serious about it and start working. You wake up and you realize all types of things. So that was over. I'm like, okay, here we go again on the streets. But ended up a couple of years later running into an old friend, and we found out we had a lot of stuff in common. So we've been married for the last 2 years. And he's also HIV negative. And I say that because when people hear HIV, they're like, I ain't gonna sleep with them. I'm like, at least with me,
Right.
and you know what to do to protect yourself. Because y'all right here listening to these folks lying. It's crazy.
That's amazing. And your life began,
Yeah.
pretty much after you found out.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me. And
Yeah.
that's what I see too. But you talk about kids and starting those conversations and stuff at a young age and everything. So you've done extensive work with the youth when it comes to mentoring and how to start those conversations and being an advocate and stuff for them very young. Can you talk about some of that work and how people can get involved? Because I mean it's something that is as we talked about, is something that is very prevalent in our community, and it's easy to get involved with it with the right tools. But yeah, can you talk about some of the work that you've been doing?
Yeah. So here's the thing that I want people to know: get people involved before it's too late. There are a lot of mentees that I have, and I have a lot of mentees. There are a couple of them who I met doing the work. They got their diagnosis, they didn't know what to do. I'm Uncle Tony can do what Uncle Tony does, right? But let me show you the people who I admire the most. I have a friend. I didn't get her permission, so I'm not gonna say her name. But her son came to her about 2 years ago, year and a half ago, and told her that he was gay. And she started Googling stuff. So after I left A's Alabama, me and my now husband, then boyfriend, started our own AIDS service organization where we do testing and outreach in Ensley, because most of the places that you do that are not in our neighborhoods. That's a whole nother story. So, but part of the things that we were offering were mentorship, not just for the kids, but also for the parents. And we like mentored or counseled several parents who kids came out as gay or trans, and they're like, I love my child, but I don't know what to do with this, and we kind of help them move through that. So like before it gets to the point of, okay, they got an STI or they got HIV, there are a lot of resources for people who have kids who identify as gay or queer or trans or whatever the new buzzwords. I'm an old school gay, so I don't they've got too many words for me these days. But whatever your issue is, there are a lot of resources out there. So like take advantage of them. But don't put your child out. That is another reason why a lot of young people acquire HIV is because their parents put them out. Then they have to start relying on sex work. And sex work don't really look like what most people think sex work is. You got you've been put out because your mom and them find out you like boys, and then you got to have a predator on the street who like, well, you can come live with me, but when you come live with them, you're gonna do some things, right? And so like a lot of kids get it that way too. So like um, I don't go on the religious note, but like yeah, you got to love your kids, and that's just no two ways about that.
So what resources, you talked about the clinic and stuff that you and your husband started. What resources are available for, communities, especially with the D9 and, how can we put those resources in communities? Because like you said, they may not be available.
So
And that's
shout out to the Deltas. No offense. But to the Deltas and
oh no, this is grown and Greek. It don't matter. Now I represent hard for the CUE, but I'm just saying.
But shout out to the Deltas here in Birmingham and also in Montgomery. I think everybody who works for ADPH in Montgomery is a Delta, but like they are concerned about their community. One of my friends, Dr. Shakita Brooks Jones, she has an organization called KRAC. KRAC specifically deals with Black women and their reasons for engaging in HIV prevention. My friend Kalan works at ADPH, but they're always over at Alabama State or doing like a girls' night out, something like that. Because when you really think about what we do, it has to look different than what it used to look like. Support groups used to be, you come in, you got somebody like me talking to folks, give you a cold sandwich, you go on about your business. Now, these people are having real conversations, real food, and maybe even a drink or two at night, just to make sure you get people out. My friend Dr. Cree, she has a nonprofit called 320 Girls, and I met with, she has this conference called Wifeology that she does every year. And Wifeology is really empowering for women. I know it sounds like somewhere you go to learn how to obey your husband. That ain't what they're doing. Like they're trying to show you how to be the best wife and best person that you can be. So like I actually did a presentation with them the other night called Pleasure Please, talking about how, the reason why STIs and HIV are a problem because sex feels good. But when we talk about sex, we always talk about it in a negative light. So wouldn't it be great if we could talk about the things we like doing and how to protect yourself? So like having conversations like that. But like anybody in the Divine Nine can like contact me or contact my husband. Y'all want to do some volunteer work. Y'all want to do some mentoring. And we can make that happen. We as Black people, we all we got. And I don't care who you are, Black, straight, gay, whatever. We all that we got. And for me, when you think about all of the other diseases that we have going on, high blood pressure, cancer, kidney disease, people flock to those fundraisers to raise money. You don't see no Black people in Birmingham or anything that's HIV related for real, unless they work in the industry, and that should stop. So hopefully you can help me stop that.
Yeah, definitely. We got to get the word out. Now, as far as the climate and stuff that we are in now, and research and things like that being affected, what do you see, that can help with, continuing the work and stuff that you do about awareness, about protection, and finding that deeper research so people can, protect themselves?
This current climate, I hope it's not too late.
Yeah.
There are things that we should have done earlier that we did not do. A big middle finger to the 8% of Black women and the 20% of Black men who thought that this orange monster was the way that they should vote. Screw y'all. Because now everybody's in jeopardy. I just had a conversation with someone who works for Alabama Department of Public Health, and they think that their prevention funding is going to get cut. So like it's going to take us being boots on the ground because there won't be any funding for it.
And that's everywhere.
That's everywhere.
Wow.
That's everywhere.
Wow.
But you know, elections have consequences, and you know, and I know that probably about 15% of that 20% of Black men who voted for Trump did that because, well, they want us to use their pronouns and they want to support these gay people. You know what? The same people that don't like us don't like you. You saw what Bucky Beaver and them, Tim Scott and Byron Daniels, where they at in the cabinet? Nowhere. Y'all around here doing all that cooning and they ain't even got no cabinet positions. Why? You know, we need to stop being so divided. At the end, especially Black people, we all we got. It's just us. You know, so being able to, you know, reach out to people in the community and help them get the things they need to get done. You know, prevention funding gets cut, and hopefully, you know, we'll be able to find other funding for my husband. You know, he's going to need some volunteers because he won't be able to have staff. So, you know, somebody's going to learn how to test and give them back the results. That we're in some really dicey waters right now. But not only just HIV, vaccine funding has been cut. That's gonna be terrible. It's really with all these colonizers who didn't vaccinate their kids. They got over 300 cases of measles in Texas. Are we in 1952? Because I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. You know, so like it's trouble everywhere. And again, as an advocate for the HIV community, I'm also an advocate for the cancer community. I'm advocate for women's bodily autonomy. Whatever your cause is, if it ain't hurting nobody else, I don't care what you do. And I wish more of us would think like that. Because who I sleep with ain't got nothing to do with you. Nothing at all. Long as I'm minding my Black business over here, you know, I don't care what you do. As long as you ain't hurting nobody, stealing nobody, hurting no kids, I'm cool. It ain't got nothing to do with me. That's between you and your maker. I ain't got nothing to do with that. But you got too many people who are always trying to tell other people what to do. And this is where we end up. Because getting rid of NIH funding for HRSA, CDC, we are going to be we're in trouble. We're in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say. We are in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, find an organization and try to help them out. Give some money.
Yeah. Because it may come to doing it on, you know, a local level, a personal level.
Yeah, that's how we started. We started off just doing it out of our pockets until we get ready to get some grant funding. But you know, we're gonna need help.
Well, on a different note, I want to, you know, celebrate you and some of the things that you're doing locally. And one stat that I want to give you kudos on is you co-founded the Birmingham Black Pride organization, and it's Alabama's longest consecutive Black Pride organization, and it be on fire. It be on 10. It be lit. But and you know, that's because I know you know, a lot of people that are active, you know, with the organization and active with what you do and all. But why is it important, Tony? Why is it important to celebrate? And why did you start the organization?
Well, I hope I don't get in no trouble with the white folks with this again. But we started Birmingham Black Pride mainly because we could not get a seat at the table of their legacy pride organization, which was Central Alabama Pride. And it's amazing to me, you know, how, you know, for 10 years, we were like, hey, can we have a party and put it on y'all's calendar? Nah, that might interfere with our crowd. First of all, the people who we talking to ain't coming to your stuff. Like, that's the first thing. So, you know, we asked, and then we got tired of asking. And I tell people all the time, when you can't get a seat at the table, create your own. So me, my friend Chris and Crystal got together with some other folks, and we created Birmingham Black Pride. It is going to happen again this year, September 19th through the 21st. But a lot of times we want to be visible. And this is something that a lot of straight people think about the gay community. A lot of y'all think that we're like singing Kumbaya. White gay people just as racist as their straight counterparts. And just like their straight white counterparts, if it's not about them, then it's not valid. and they get mad when you call it out, just like their straight counterparts do. But I am here to tell you that, once we started our organization, then not only did they start stealing our ideas, but then they started trying to steal our people. And even now, when you look at their lineup, it's blackity black. All the drag before we started. And I'm kind of glad that we pushed them to move to be a little bit more inclusive, because people of color in the queer community love talking about inclusivity, until it comes to us, right? So, the real minority, which are Black people, because people of color can look like white people and move in their circles. We cannot sit in the corner and close our eyes and shut our mouths and people think we're not Black. My white gay friends, if they sit over in the corner, stop throwing them rainbow sprinkles around, ain't nobody gonna know you gay. I cannot pretend to be Black, not to be Black. So when I hear people talking about, it's the same, it's not. Stop saying that it's not. You sound stupid. It's not the same thing. Is it just as valid? Yes. But it's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. So we started because we needed to highlight the stuff that we do. Because again, when you try to go into other people's stuff, they already got their agenda, what they want to do. They may not want to celebrate a Patrick Packer who started the Southern AIDS Coalition, which is a huge organization now that started right here in Birmingham, who's also an alpha, I might add. So they don't want to talk about the stuff that we've done. They don't want to talk about the stuff that they do. And so in order for us to figure it out, then to get in there, we got to do our own thing.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like the D9 is doing everything.
We're doing everything.
Including the work that you're doing, and we got to continue to do it.
Yeah. The D9 is awesome.
The D9
one thing I can tell you, I was one of the people who played because I just wanted to see more leadership and helping the community, because again, my love language is acts of service. So being able to do what I do and let people knowing that I'm a Sigma, he's doing some good work. We all do good work.
Yeah. Well, I thank you. Thank you for your story. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for your transparency. I mean, really, Tony, because we need to talk. We need to have these conversations, because you are a person who can change somebody's life.
Can I tell you one more quick story before we go?
Yeah, definitely.
So, people always talk about there's gay agenda, right? There's no gay agenda. We're not trying to make anybody gay. If you're gay, you're just born gay. My ex-husband and I adopted my nephew, Maurice. So if you go to my Facebook page, you always see me talking about Maurice. Maurice has autism. And he graduated from high school in 2023. He's been raised by 3 gay men. First me and my ex, and now me and my current husband for the last 10, 12 years. So he graduated, right before graduation, he comes up, he goes, "Papa," he goes, "what does homosexual mean?" And I'm like, "You've been living with 3 sisters for the last 10 years, so you got to know what homosexual mean." And so I didn't say that. I'm like, it's kind of like when me and Dad were together, like how me and Demetrius are together now. He's okay. He said, "what does bisexual mean?" And I'm thinking to myself, good Lord. So I'm like, it's like when you like boys or girls. He was like, okay. I said, "well, Maurice, what are you?" He goes, "oh, I'm heterosexual." I said, "congratulations." So a couple of weeks go by and we had graduation. I'm crying because my baby is graduating. He got all these honors. And I didn't expect any of that because of his autism. But he's doing some amazing things. He has the 3 friends who are trans. I want to make sure I got some pictures with them. And I'm thinking, this is great. So we get in the car going home. And I think when I asked him what was he, I think he thought he was coming out to me. So we're in the car and it dawns on him. He says, "Papa, I think I need to tell Dad I'm a heterosexual." I said, "Maurice, I think he already knows." He says, "how?" So all I could think of was he's heard his friends come out talking about how hard it was coming out being gay or being trans and how traumatic it was, and how dare anybody out him being straight. It's Dad.
But that's the contrast.
That's a double standard. That's a double standard.
Yeah.
And my answer our answers were great. My husband goes, "Oh, because we look at your search history and know you like boobs." And I was like, "Don't worry about it. He loves you anyway." It just kept driving.
That's the double standard, the contrast.
Yeah.
But it's real.
Yeah.
It's,
And we don't try to
real.
make kids, straight kids gay. Y'all try to make gay kids straight.
Yeah.
What I had to tell somebody.
Again, the double standard.
The double standard, yeah.
The double standard. Well, Tony, thank you so much for, joining me on the podcast. Continue the work that you do. I'm so happy to connect with you. Now we
gotta hang
locked.
out.
Now we locked. Now we down. We down. I got that bat line. That bat phone number. So keep us up to date with what you're doing, and tell everybody how they can connect with you, how they can be involved with the organization, and the work. Give your last thoughts about continue to advocate for.
So let me say this. So I think it's important for people to know where resources are. The organization that my husband runs is called Empowered Health Equity Alabama. It's right over on Avenue I, next to this event center called The Heights. That used to be called Club Atlantis. Y'all remember Club Atlantis? But it's right there in that shopping center. He and I'm just gonna give you his number. It's 205-542-5050. I don't know what the office number is, but we never stop working. So like you can call them for resources. You want to get tested. You want to talk about some issues that you may have within your family. They're there for you. Me, I work for a pharmaceutical company now. I do a lot of community education. I do a lot of presentations on the social drivers of health and sex positivity. And you can reach me at 205-422-9855. The agency has a Facebook page, which is the same thing as what I said, Empowered Health Equity Alabama. We call them EHE. And you can find me on most I'm on Facebook and TikTok. On Facebook, I'm Tony Walker Billups. Always cutting up. And then on TikTok, it's on same thing, Tony Walker Billups. And I'm going to start doing more TikTok content because Jesus Christ.
And a comedian. So you write that down. Write that down. Tony Walker Billups, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And remember, you guys, please like, share, subscribe to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Of course, follow us on social media at Grown and Greek Podcast. If you know anyone of the D9, just like Tony, who is great, phenomenal, and who we should share their story, please hit me up in my DM on IG at Grown and Greek Podcast. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you.
You can support Grown and Greek by subscribing to the podcast, shopping our exclusive luxury accessory line, or purchasing books from the D9 Book Club by visiting our website at grownandgreekpodcast.com. Don't forget to like, comment, and share on social media at Grown and Greek Podcast. Thanks for watching.